We all love to see historical buildings get renovated instead of being torn down. And it's even better when great food is involved. Our own Vicki Yates recently found a perfect example over in Petersburg.
It takes a little less than an hour and a half to drive to Petersburg from Nashville. And once you arrive, you'll soon find yourself on the town square.
How are you?
Good to eat?
We have all kinds of good stuff here, Warren. So, years ago, back in the 1800s and the early 1900s, it was really a thriving community.
Jean Griffin knows the town's history. She grew up here. Her parents owned the drugstore on the square.
The railroad used to go through Petersburg. There was a stockyard here, so all of the farmers would bring their cattle and pigs and everything to trade at the stockyard. There was actually something here called the Colt Show, which was a horse show that was a predecessor to the walking horse industry in Shelbyville. But it was a very thriving community back in the early 1900s and continued to be so, probably, I would say, until the 1980s, 1990s.
Petersburg, Tennessee was once a thriving town, but once local schools closed, so did almost everything else. That is until divine intervention stepped in.
Are y'all coming to eat? Yes. Are you having ice cream or are you going to have lunch?
Miss Jean, owner of Miss Jean's Sandwich and Ice Cream Shop, facing the square, had been one of the natives who left, but retired from her job as a banker and decided to come back home.
Is this your first time to be here?
No, I've been here.
Okay, good. Well, thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Friends encouraged her to start a business, but the cost of revamping a building made her think twice.
And I'm like, oh, I don't have enough money to redo one of these buildings because a lot of them were in huge disrepair. And somebody one day said, well, somebody's buying these buildings and fixing them up. And I said, really? So that Sunday at church during silent prayer, I said to God, if I'm supposed to do this, you need to send me a sign. And I've never asked for a sign in my entire life. But after church, I came down with a friend and we were looking in the windows of one of the buildings and nobody was on the square except this one other man, and he was walking around. And I told my girlfriend, I said, he's an investor, I could tell by looking at him. And she said, let's go find out. So we walked over to him and I said, you're not from here, are you? And he laughed and he said, no, but I bought that building and I'm attempting to buy these others. And I said, well, I'm thinking about opening a sandwich and an ice cream shop. He said, if you will open a business on the Petersburg Square, I will give you that building free for a year. And now I'm not supposed to tell that because afterwards he said, quit telling people about the Miss Jean special. I'm not giving everybody rent free for a year. But he did give it to me rent free for a year.
And that man with big plans is developer Alex Rustioni of Williamson County.
How did this happen? It sounds like, was it divine intervention? What?
Probably, yeah. I would say that's a big part of it. So we'd come on the weekends, and then we'd drive through here, and it was just dead, like ghost town dead. And then I started learning more about the history. So that theater was actually opened in the 40s, 1945. It was segregated, upstairs, downstairs. So that was interesting. And then the Curve building to the left is even older. That was a silent movie theater. How about that? Like in the 20s.
What was the inspiration? Did you just see old buildings and say, this could be something, or did you just say?
I think so. Yeah. I think the buildings had pretty good bones. And I mean, I was very skeptical. Like when Miss Jean said, hey, 2 years ago, let's turn this into a sandwich shop, I thought, you're gonna sell like 4 sandwiches a day, maybe. And now they're like, they're already lining up. And again, when Jessica said, I'm gonna open up a store, I was like, you're gonna sell like 2 hats. And now there's a line out the door. So I was a lot of skepticism, but it worked out.
1 whole focaccia and 2 honey oat.
Good morning, how are you?
Miss Jean's Sandwich and Ice Cream Shop is thriving, certainly selling more and much more than 4 sandwiches a day. And like today, there are often people waiting to be seated just for the chance to eat from Miss Jean's menu.
We sell a lot of chicken salad. We make homemade chicken salad. All of our breads, as I said, are made by Merides in Franklin or the Heirloom Bakery here in town. We have a homemade fruit tea that's really good. And believe it or not, our Reuben sells more next to our chicken salad than anything else.
Miss Jean is thrilled that other businesses are moving in, including a health drink store and the Babe Company.
The girl that was next door to me, the Babe Company, when she first told me about it, so they have parties for little girls and women, and you can come decorate hats and t-shirts and so forth. And I thought, okay. And then when she opened, man, it just exploded, and it actually brought an entirely new demographic to the square.
Today's lunch demographic has attracted all ages, from toddlers to retirees. So what does Miss Jean want her customers, new and older, to take away from their visit here?
I want people to feel at home. I want them to feel like they got a good meal, but I want them to feel like they have their money's worth. Love y'all. Bye. Love you. But then I also like the fact that they connect with other people. So it's more than just the food. The food's got to be good, the service has got to be good, and I've got a great team. But it's more about how you feel when you leave.
How did you like the story? We'd love to hear from you in the comments. If you enjoyed it, we have a lot more where that came from. Here's one you might like, and please click here to subscribe so you'll know when we premiere new videos. Thanks for watching.